initially people say it's like, slow charging, but I can see, I mean, when people will buy the car, there's no time. They don't want to wait. They just go and charge and move away. So I think that's the future. But yes, the things have started, and it's a moral responsibility for everyone. We are doing something good for the nature and for the more cleaner environment for our future generations. And I think if we start, definitely we'll achieve the goal. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Alan. So far, we know that things has gone well in Netherlands in terms of developing the charging infrastructure, but are there still challenges that you continue to face in the further development of your EV ecosystem?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of them now. With the extremely high energy prices now, you can see that sort of driving electric cars as expensive as a fossil fuel car, and there's always this understream of people saying, "Well, don't buy electric because there's all reasons not to join this electric revolution," and so we're sort of fighting that at this moment. And I was talking about the price of the cars. We need definitely cheaper cars. What I'm really happy with now is that we're also working on buses and transport. So, to electrify your country, it's also the public transport that needs to be electrified. And I think we're working on it very well. So that's very hopeful. And I think there's lots of challenges to take, and it has to do also with smart charging. That is our next step that we see. How can we how can we use the grid more efficiently? How can we help people to have solar panels and use it for their car? And how can the energy in the car maybe will be helping some of the houses when there's problems with the grid? So we're sort of looking at those new developments, we're not there yet. We are extremely working hard. Oh yeah, and one of my personal things is that we had a government that said, okay, we're going to sort of subsidize and help the growth of the electric car. But what the governments do now, they say it has grown into sort of mature market, so we stopped doing that. And I think it's too early because it hasn't been a growth market yet. So we are really lobbying at the national government to say don't stop it yet, because it's besides of that it is good for the environment, it's also good for the businesses. There's Dutch charging infrastructure businesses that work all over the world because we have invested in that techniques for the last decade. So I think so that's my worry, and that's why we lobby with the government a lot. Don't let it go into the market, but help it to let it grow more intensely and more fast.
Thanks a lot, Alan. Ashif, is this something common? What you've heard is something common to different countries?
Yes, I think it's quite common. So, essentially saying it's horses for courses. That needs to be the solution. So, like Jagdeep mentioned, the point around, the taxis. Yes, they need fast charge. You can't sit around there for the charging. But for the normal consumer, you can have slow charging. But at the same time, I agree, he needs to know there is a fast charger. He may never use it, or you may very sparingly use it, but that will be needed. So those so solutions need to be very, very bespoke for the segments, right? And similarly, like we heard about the Netherlands, and I know, yeah, that's happening in many countries. They're saying now you had enough EVs, you're going to remove the incentives. And everybody says, no, 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 you can't remove the incentives. Looking at that, some countries say we don't want to get into this trap because once we give it, we'll never be able to remove them, right? So I think that's where also this thing, the balancing that I was talking about. So, for example, we are packing in 800 kilometers into a car. That means the critical resource of battery that is being used there is huge. That also amplifies the cost of that vehicle. So, can a very widespread charging network be used so as to not do that and then keep the price of the vehicle low? Yes, perhaps. So the solutions have to be very, very tailor made for the use cases, for the form factors of the vehicles, and that I think universally wherever it's happening in a manner like that, it's working well in those segments, sub segments. Wherever it's going, just okay, no, more range, more fast chargers, more. There we are getting into this trap of the incentive is there, but once it goes out, what happens?
Thank you very much. We know that we still have a lot of things to learn from our panelists, but the time is too short. So maybe now I'd like to
I would like to
provide everyone a chance to give the last words.
Yeah, the last thing is, why we should move to the EV. If you see the import bill of the oil which we buy from other countries is a lot. So if we take out some money and then push for the EV, and the energy is in our hand, you can have a solar panel, you have number of things, you can produce the energy, which is much cheaper in use for the electric cars. So I think that's what the government can see on that and start with that how much oil they're importing and how much they can take out for the EV, and definitely you will see the growth.
Well, I think we're very lucky in the Philippines to have an association that's very active in the space, like the EV Association of the Philippines. Because for me, as a charge point operator and a new entrant into this market, remember we only started installing chargers 2 weeks ago. We've already got 10 in the country and a long way to go over the next 5 years. Having EVAP as the link between me and the business sector and the government is massively helpful. You can help us lobby to make sure that the rules that are implemented are sensible and will actually help the development. So thank you for that.
Yeah, Ellen. Yeah, some last
Yeah, I
words.
fully agree with that. It's so nice to work again in a global space because I know there's differences between Europe and the Philippines, but we work together in this global EV alliance because you have lessons learned. Things that things that happen in Norway helps us, and things that happen in other countries of the world can help the Philippines, and Philippines can help us, by getting more two-wheelers and three-wheelers on our road. So I think it's wonderful to work together, and I really appreciate the work together with EVAP and Mr. Edmond Daraga in that part.
Yeah, thank you very much. Last words, Ashim.
Yeah, I think apart from what all I said, one more thing that we all need to also be cognizant of, and which many countries are not, is having the recipe maker for the battery also within the country, because there's enough in the earth's crust, but there's not enough in mines. And for countries which will have, say, lower number of EVs or lower battery demand, they're going to be like, this is the chemistry, this is the price, take it or leave it. So that's where we need to secure some of the knowledge or the technology, probably intermediate materials, and also maybe large corporations need to make some moves so as to be able to secure raw materials as well, which apart from charging will also be very important if we look at a viable industry in the future. So thank you.
So thank you very much to all the panelists. Thank you for sharing your time, your knowledge. So once again, everyone, let's give our applause to our panelists. Thank you.
And thank you to Dr. Manny Biona for leading that up with our panelists and Mr. Ashim Sharma. We'd like to invite the rest of our panelists to join us as well for a little photo op. We want to thank also Ms. Ellen Heap, Mr. Peter Wilson, and Mr. Jajit Singh. Thank you so much. Yes, Miss Ellen, you are part of the photo still. Thank you so. That's what hybrid is all about. All right, another round of applause for them, please. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That wraps up our first day of our 10th Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit. Please join me in giving this day a round of applause with everything we started with. Amazing. May nakahabol, of course, we have no other than Sir Romel joining us as well. Sir Ferdy. And while we have this amazing photo op for milestones to be kept, let me thank first our partners. Asian Federation of Electric Vehicle Association, the Department of Energy, Nissan Philippines Incorporated. Also, thank you for the support. Solar Transport and Automotive Resources Corporation, United Asia Automotive Group Incorporated, Hyundai Motor Philippines Incorporated, Manila Electric Company. We would also like to thank Pilipinas Auto Group Incorporated, Evo X Terra Incorporated, Mitsubishi Motors Philippines Incorporated, Power Equipment and Supplies Incorporated, Solarius Energy, Weltmeister. Maraming salamat din sa Asia Trans Import and Export Corporation, Robert Bosch Incorporated, BTC, Power Cebu Incorporated, Developer of Electric Conveyances Corporation, De La Salle University, Delta Electronics International Singapore, FCC, Greenstrom Incorporated, GTLI, Cargo Forwarding, Hatasu Philippines, Phoenix Contact, FTC Incorporated, Shell Mobility Philippines, Simply Moving Philippines, Supernova Innovation, Sysnet Integrators, Toyo Seat Philippines Corporation, and of course, we also want to give a shout out to Metro Pacific Tollways Corporation, Uni Oil Petroleum Philippines Incorporated, and watch me do the unthinkable, multitasking, taking a photo while announcing our thanks to Business Mirror, Malaya Business Insight, Manila Times, Philippines Graphics, as well as Zig Wheels and Carmuni. Maraming salamat po as we say in the Philippines. Thank you so much. Please make sure to be here again tomorrow. We've got a full packed day sessions. And of course, the much awaited raffle is happening tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the evening, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
And that concludes the first day of the 10th Philippine Electric Vehicle Summit. See you again tomorrow for a day packed with discussions, sessions that will take us further into our journey towards electromobility. Plug in and drive.
To Manila will get the greater share. So we are looking at that, and you can expect in the preview a clear pathway through the help and assistance of our CTI on that matter. But yes, we are looking, we want to bring in the country, we want to bring in manufacturing and recycling, battery recycling capabilities.
Sir, direct, just in case you don't know, we have the biggest battery manufacturer in the Philippines, Bulacan, who is supplying 84% to Asia. Probably we can tap.
I am aware of the company, the recycling capability they have presented. They're actually looking at the government programs, additional government support. I do have to sit down again with them. Maybe they have to sit down already with the BOI. Kaso in Bulacan, it's a tier 1 area. Tier 1 area, they have to put in the facility. Maybe I will joke in Pampanga, who is for tier 3, but Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, Rizal, NCR, and the environs of Metro Cebu and Metro Davao are considered tier 1.
I think I know we're talking the same company.
I think we are talking about the same company.
Yes.
I can promote it, di ba?
Yeah, they also have the recycling.
Not for lithium ion.
Yes, not for lithium ion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yes,
sir,
I was encouraging them.
thank you very much for all those information, and
Good luck and congratulations on the video.
Thank you very much. Did you say from which country?
LA from E-Life Summit.
Yeah, right. Actually, I would like to have our president Edmond to expound also on the batteries because, as you know, we are going away from the lead acid batteries and we're going to the lithium ion. And as far as his experiences on backing batteries, probably Chair President Edmond. Yeah, we're still in talks with other our counterparts, especially on the Asian region. And that in particular, that the supply side and the support as to networking with them on establishing manufacturing plant or business process here is still doable. So it really is very capital intensive and that much takes a lot of incentives that they have to go reconsider for them to establish here in the Philippines. But they're still optimistic that there's a view and there's a probability of having it on ground here, especially for the 2 to 3 wheel vehicle. And that I know of one of our members is very silent, but carrying a big stick. I don't want to mention it first at the moment. Has already an edge in terms of developing this. In fact, he was able to not only on the prototype but test already proven that it works magnificently and that they are working together with the hackathon. So this member of ours is a very low profile and that is capable of doing those. But as to the extent, it needs really more capitalization. You just have to roll out first, like step 1 to step 2 first before going where the is it right, sir? Thank you very much, President. I'd like to add also that you were mentioning about replacement of batteries in 5%. Actually, lithium is supposed to be 11th year, but for some, of course, they're a lot shorter. But there's so much technology ongoing now, especially being done in Europe, North America, not only in China. But I would imagine by the time you replace your battery, it's not going to be just a lithium-ion battery, it's a lithium-ion phosphate. It would be lithium sulfur, which is 80% cheaper than lithium. And there's ongoing testing already in North America with different EV providers, and I've been given updates on this because they want to also market it to the Philippines, also in Southeast Asia. So that's something that we can do for. All right, so can we hear another inquiry from the audience? Or should we get one from the virtual? Okay, so magpamono lang muna kami dito kung ayaw nyo magtanong. There's one. Yeah, okay. Yeah. James again. Can you hand the mic, please? Please say your name.
Good morning po. Ako po si Randolph De Leon from GST Philippines. Ng boses. Anyway, just a quick question now. Are we doing something to educate the mechanics from the high-level mechanics to the low-level mechanics in terms of maintenance of EVs, hybrids, para magkaroon din naman sila ng knowledge kasi lalo na yung mga old mechanics na syempre mapapray dyan, dalat namin yung parang how can we reach out to them? Anong level of education ang kailangan? What do they need in order to be educated sa pag-prepare ng babies to the meetings and everything? Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, President Edmond has something to say on this. At present, we are working with TESDA, together with DOE, that we have a program that we're trying to boost. This is under CSU, TESDA, EVAP, and other stakeholders that we're trying to build up in positioning the old mechanics to learn more ways. And that is the role of EVAP as well, that we come across with a lot of educational programs, and we reach out with the academy as well as to magnify how they be adaptable on switching to electric. And that there are some training programs that we are building up. In fact, I just came from Bangkok in Malaysia. We're trying to tap the other sources from our ASEAN regions, work with the training programs that would be of interest with our members and with other stakeholders who would be interested in switching into it. So, ini-prepare na namin yun, sir. And that, ang common natin at the moment is working with the program with the TESDA and
Follow to that question, can that program be cascaded sa mga universities, whether public or private universities or schools?
Yes. As mentioned, sir, we have some academy chapters involved on this, and that we would extend it to not only to our academy chapter members, but to other schools and universities that would be interested on setting this thing up. At present, sir, yung ang kaya lang kasi natin magawa sa local ground is on our capabilities on e-trike and the easy, which is very, very easy. Only being very basic, no? But as to level up on adaptation on other mechanicals and electrical subject matters concerned of, lalo na yung technical issues. Yun yung touch base na namin sa mga counterparts namin from region. Even Korea, South Korea is very helpful and very vocal that they're open on that scenario. Reach us out para maging everyone would known of, maging familiar dun sa EV infrastructure.
That would be all, ladies. That would be all, sir. Thank you very much for entertaining my question. And I hope na someday, at least yung mga taong katulad ni McFlyers, magagawa ng paraan. Kasi importante din naman na merong basic mechanic skills, di ba, na hilig sa daan, mag-tube, yun. So, maraming salamat po. And,
all right, okay, thank you. If I may add also, for this, for the peace of mind of buyers of electric vehicles, every distributor or manufacturer mentioned that also. They are all well trained. They have well trained mechanics, and they are also trained by their principals. So whether it's Jaguar or even it's China, all these distributors, all their mechanics are trained abroad from the principals. So that's to ensure you that you get a good service also. And of course, that will cascade down to the backyard or the big shops. It's so simple anyway. It's a lot simpler than maintaining internal combustion. Okay, so we have the next one. Say your name.
Yes, good morning. My name is Alden Manzon from the Philippine Daily Caller. I'd just like to ask the Philippine-specific data on the number of unit sales this year, sir, so far.
At present, And I just ran with Sir Darius and Sela of Issues Division. So still, they're following the 2021 figures. 19,834 is the registered electric vehicles combined with the e-trike, two-wheelers, cars, e-bus. That's majority of it is like 5,000 is on the e-trikes, 3,000 is on the two-wheel segment. So yun yung figures na nakuha namin. I can share it with you later on the exact numbers as to the details of the registered vehicles. That is 2021 version.
But sir, ano sir yung projection niyo for this year? Is it projected to grow, sir?
Well, it was being affected 2020 during the pandemic. However, there are a lot of e-cars in the market right now. In fact, last year we are like not so gung-ho, but they have lots of available units that are being deployed, especially the high-end ones. The one that makes e-cars namin yun, nadami talaga. In that, seeing that there are a lot of charging stations at base now, from the malls and even on the gas stations, somewhere in the south already is available, and they're looking at in the north as well. Lalong nadami siya. Ang projections namin dito, baka more than double than the figure ng cars. Our chairman can attest to that they're selling the unexpected number of units. Ang problema na lang talaga is the availability because of the chip problem supply side of the e-cars. But as to number of orders, there are a lot already. So we're talking of hundreds na. And we're not talking of tens na, but we're hundreds of thousands na lumalabas na.
So, sir, do you see the continued weakening of the peso to affect the prices, sir? Since I guess most of the parts are coming from overseas.
Actually, the more that they have to struggle base their orders, because the more that increases the dollar, the more that they cannot get the old price. So, the only thing that matters is mas makakasave sila when they buy the cars. In particular, they can save on gas, they can save on the cost of the unit. So, talagang may effect to, may effect siya. But people are, when they are educated and they see the inclination or the trend is going on procuring cars, in particular for personal mobility, maraming nag-interest. Kasi they don't think of that on the dollar peso rate, but more so how quickly have their savings on the long term, not on the short term.
Okay, siguro, just to give you an idea, I have your record of 2021. Of course, we still don't have it, but if you want to jot this down, the total sales of electric motorcycle is 5,500. The electric bikes is 7,250. The cars, passenger cars, 311. SUV, 43. Utility vehicles, these are the commercial vehicles, 815. Trucks, 12. And buses, 10. So that's the actual figure as of last year. We'll just forward to you for this year that it's a running figure. But just like President Edmond said, there's a lot of now that we see demand for passenger cars more than double. And in fact, once you get to the EV Summit, you'll see a lot of passenger vehicles. Of course, commercial vehicles is also that.
Sir, just have a follow-up question yung sa, I guess, nomenclature and yung categorization, sir, ng electric vehicles. Ang, 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 ang kasama ba dun, sir, sa yung data na pinrovide, sir, kasama ba yung hybrid, sir? Hybrid, hindi kasama hybrid, sir.
You're not including hybrids because hybrids are purely, should I say, basically internal combustion engine.
So, battery electric vehicles, sir.
Battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids. That means vehicles that uses plugs. Kasi our EBITDA is actually promotion of electric vehicles and charging.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Okay, next one, please.
Morning, gentlemen. My name is Rafi. I'm from Tech Control. I write most of my stories are on smartphones, but this has relation to battery operated vehicles. Right now, the fastest charging for a smartphone is 20 minutes full charge siya. Right now, sa Hugis Cuba, yung standard natin. At gano'n na tayo kalapit doon na pwede na natin charge, full charge ang isang baterya into just like 10 to 20 minutes. Kasi downtime yan eh. Gasolina, full tank na agad. I-charge sa batteries, medyo may downtime. Nasa na po tayo sa...
Actually, Rafi, there's types of charging, whether it's DC, whether it's or DC. Sure, the DC is a lot more, but we want to answer that.
At the moment, the standard, you cannot declare it as standard, but normal type of chargers on these is like 30 to 45 minutes percent fully charged na siya. Not 100%. That is on DC. And that on an AC, normal time charging is of about 6 to 8 hours of normally on an overnight charge on AC approach. And this is one thing that we don't really recommend that on getting the DC chargers with fast charge. The more that you force the battery on charge on a quick charge, the more it depreciates the cells of the battery. And that it is more ideal to charge it on a longer period of time. In fact, wherever you go, even in other countries, they emphasize on the DC chargers as it's more safe than setting up the DC chargers. However, when you set up a DC charger that is more expensive and that it only takes you a small amount of time, but the value of the they take or the force of using your unit really affects. So, yun lang yung kagandahan. As we have experience, also me as a manufacturer and user of vehicles, kaya tumatagal ang mga units namin because we do it overnight. Long range charge, not for the short-term charge. That's the current scenario natin. Yes, di ba tayo nang pupunta sa designate sa full charge sa kanya? In fact, merong ibang nagkaroon ng prototype ng 10 to 15 minutes na tayo sa mga tricycle but it didn't last. In fact, yung batteries nila crash agad ang system na kasi adaptation of. But we can never question the innovation and the continuous technology that is being introduced to the market. There are still probability that it could go down of time charge. I'm just explaining to you that really the ideal one is not on the fast charge. But it's better that you could charge it than on the long term.
Rubbish Guru, if I may add, the, the length or the duration of charging depends on the kilowatt batteries you have in your vehicle. Of course, the bigger the kilowatt, the longer. Let me put an example. Let's say Nissan Leaf. Okay, Nissan Leaf has 41 kilowatt. It would take 16 to 18 hours to fully charge. However, there are providers of charging stations that they can put a charging station in your house, but they have to increase the amperes that they can supply to the battery of your car, which brings down the 18 hours, 8 hours. So again, how do they do that? If you are in, like, let me put this scenario. May bahay ka, tapos meron kang air conditioner. Air conditioner mo, meron sariling 3 wires, three prongs na plug niya. But that wire goes directly to one breaker. And that breaker is normally 20 amps. So, ano siya? Why do you do that? Because for security, malakas ang flow ng power na air. If you have a vehicle, electric vehicle, you can do that 20 amps, but it will take you 18 hours. What this provided us, it changed your breaker to a 40 amps. So, paano kinulong din yun? Then, of course, puts bigger wires, etc. Then that's where you plug in your onboard charger. Kasi if your vehicle meron onboard charger, so you can plug on that piece terminal or output. So, pag pinag mo doon, 8 hours na lang yun. Pero if you go to a gasoline station, let's say Shell, this is SX, that is the charging station, of course you have to pay more. But your 8 hours can be 40 minutes. Now, if you are looking for a better, shorter duration, I guess what I was talking about, lithium sulfur, that is a more faster battery to be charged. So, I think
Thanks for getting there already.
yes.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Ravi. Okay, anything else? Yes.
I have a question for Director Aquino. The Chamber of Automotive Manufacturers, sir, said na may 130 charging stations and service providers in the country right now. How many more do we need, sir, to have a portable infrastructure for the entire industry?
Actually, to answer kasi, yeah, the way EVs work, what we're seeing elsewhere, we're not the first country going to go into electric vehicles. Most of the charging happens at home, actually overnight. So the concerns of our public when it comes to charging may be a little bit misplaced. And remember, pag electric yung sasakyan, if the driving is city yung stop and go, the reduction in terms of the consumption is also not high kasi powering na nangyayari sa stop. So what we are going to be expecting and what we've seen elsewhere is that the typical person does at least one charging, full charging, in a week's worth of drive. And we're seeing the range of electric vehicles now exceed 100 kilometers on a single charge. So what we're trying to tell you is that typical to what you're doing as using an internal combustion engine, you will get the incremental pop-ups, especially if you put in even a slow charge at home. So the concern of an ordinary user like you and me, that you need to go to a charging station to top up intra-week might not be there unless you're traveling a great distance. At least based on what we're seeing, the studies have indicated it and the experience of God. Now, in terms of the number of electric vehicle charging stations, based on our monitoring and the tests that I have, we're closer to 300 EV charging points right now. So, medyo madami na siya. I think the concern of the public with respect to fast charging is for the public utility sector, wherein they are constantly on the road and they do not reach a destination, they have to turn around time. I think that's the challenge that government will have to face, especially for the public transport sector, that we put in the availability of fast charging for them. And to clarify and to do a rejoinder on what was already explained, the technology is already available for fast charging. Meaning, if it's a direct current, again, make it three-phase, be more technical about it, you'll be able to charge up to 80% in 5 to 15 minutes right now. To reach the remaining 100% charge, that will take you closer to an hour still. Because the closer you are to 100%, the longer it takes to charge. So kung yung concern yun, yun yung sagot. Yung sheer number of what will be required for the charging infrastructure, directionally, I think during the public consultations, we did continue that at least at the onset for ordinary household users like you and me, we will be encouraging the distributors, the importers to throw in or bundle the slow charging setup with the vehicle. Kasi again, we believe that most of the charging will be happening at home, similar to what we are seeing elsewhere. Now, for the number for the fast charging for public transport sector, we're working hand in hand with the field for that because that will be tied into how we roll out the EV component of the PUV. And right now, we do not have those fast charging for the design for the public transport sector at this point in time. I think that would be a greater concern.
And the other charging stations that you mentioned, we have a breakdown of it for regions or we have information on where most of them are located.
And if your assumption is correct, majority is in Metro Manila and urban areas. If you let me towards the end of this press con, I think I can provide you the listing. Tama ba? Yeah. We can provide you a regional listing of where those charging stations are. But you are correct. It's predominantly here in the National Capital Region, Region 3, Region 4A, Region 7, particularly in Cebu. I think those are the top areas for charging stations.
Thank you very much, Frank.
Okay, anything else? Yes.
Jeff Reyes from GSKS. Good morning, Jeff. Okay, well, congratulations. It's a step up for to do some here. But my question is, we see a lot of initiatives setting up charging stations. Then eventually we should stations to become commercial. Now, would there be any regulation same approach on regulating prices in terms of providing charge to any consumers or any users? Because this is quite different in terms of approach. Because unlike fuel, people now can actually have charging stations even in their homes. So anyone can offer this as a service. Anyone who actually has access or can provide access to a national road could be a charging station. So would there be regulations? One, another question would be, there be franchise for this kind of business? Or I understand you're not providing permits to given gas stations to provide charging ports for charging stations for cars. And what would be the regulation?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. There's I think 3 items that I do have to answer there. The first is do EV charging stations need to get a government permit or to register? The answer is yes. there is a requirement for accreditation. The second question on will an EV charging station be able to collect fees? The answer is yes. Is there any restriction to the fees? Yes, there is. The requirement is that the fees have to be unbundled. Will the government regulate the rates or the fees charged to the public by these EV charging station providers? The answer is no. It is deregulated. What is required is that any fee that is collected be from an EV charging station provider that is duly accredited with the Department of Energy, and that any such fees or charges that is collected be unbundled. When we speak of unbundling, the cost components or general cost items to why the particular fee is collected is spelled out and made available to the public. So, yun po yung sagot. I think I answered all of your questions, sir. Sir Jeff, okay na, nag-thumbs up. So, ang tanong, right now, is there legal basis? I will also have to say this already. Is there legal basis for people to start collecting fees for the existing? I would tell them, as I have reminded a lot of people already, that prior to the EV law or EVAP, the selling of electricity is regulated. And you do have to secure a franchise for it. What this law provides is the exemption. Kasi for those who are collecting right now, actually they can be prosecuted by the Energy Regulatory Commission because they are in the business of selling electricity without a franchise, a license, or a permit. So it is very important nga that's why we were advocating the passage of this law because it takes out EV charging station providers from that ambit of definition under the Electric Power Industry Reform Act. So again, since baka may nakikinig po, we would like to remind our peers, stakeholders, that the charging framework starts with EVAP. Actually, right now, we should not be collecting. And in the event you are collecting, I do hope they start, getting the necessary accreditation and before collecting and working towards making it transparent or unbounding their costs. So, ang tanong pala palagi is that what will be the role of the Energy Regulatory Commission for the rates? What the EVIDA speaks of is that when the source of electricity for the EV charging station providers are your distribution utilities, for example, that portion is regulated, of course. And it is rightly regulated. But what is charged to us, you and me as end users, deregulated po siya. The only requirement dito ko is unbundled. So just to give an example of how that would look like, electricity cost, service fee, or whatever, ganun po yun. And will it be a la carte per kilowatt hour or per time? That will be dependent on the EV charging station provider. Thank you.
Probably Jeff, if I could add, I have a 31 kilowatt electric vehicle. Takes me like 10 hours to charge. My computation is like cost me 380 pesos to charge. Sige, tinanong ko yung brother. I'm using a Dongfeng passenger car. But anyway, cost me 380 pesos in 10 hours. And then, of course, I have a solar panel, so wala akong problema whether I charge during peak hours or night time kasi everything's from the solar. But anyway, I have a neighbor. Wala siya dun triplong na socket. Okay? So he comes to my house and sabi niya, Birds, can I charge my car? Sige, okay. And sabi ko, sa akin, 300. Pero I don't collect 300. Dinapadala na lang niya ako ng isang botelya tsaka isang cake. So, hindi na rin ako nag-charge. Kasi but anyway, ganoon naman ang sitwasyon ngayon. Karamihan, And everybody or great majority charges their vehicle at home. And like mine, I go 220 kilometers in charge siguro once in 3 weeks. Some higher end models, 400, 500 kilometers, don't charge. Actually, with the DOE and the rest of government, will do a better way of communicating. EV really is, electric vehicles are a game changer. The way we view and use vehicles, the way we do the concept of charging, mababago it. It's already widespread. Ulitin ko, we are seeing it elsewhere. People are not charging. Ordinary users like you and me, you will not be charging as frequently as you are imagining in your head if you were using an internal combustion engine. And to dovetail, may isa pang reiteration, the government is committed to providing and retooling our manpower, existing manpower who is tied to our internal combustion engine because there's electric vehicles have at least 40% less moving parts than your conventional engine. And just to be clear also, magalit ang aking mga technical engineers sa akin, if an electric vehicle stops, it doesn't restart already. There's really something wrong. So our concern for the public is that you get it regularly tuned up whether over the air to your service center because the diagnostic capabilities for electric vehicles is very, very superior already. If they plug it in, they run the diagnostic, they can tell you already what is wrong. Parang MBIS ng joke. So, ang ibig lang namin sabihin is that the necessary skill set required, really, and to a certain extent, that's why there are some people who would want the internal combustion engine to remain. Because the internal combustion engine, if it fails, meron kang pwedeng life hack gawin to make it run, to get it running. But if it's an EV, if an EV stalls, there's really something wrong with it and something wrong with the unit that you really need to take it to the manufacturing. But in terms of the percentages, the likelihood of an electric vehicle to you getting stalled with proper maintenance is less than 1%. 99% of the time, it will be running. Baka naman kasi matakot kayo na, but 1% yun, meron talagang fail rate. 99% is running, that's enough. Siguro, Director, this is my personal experience. If for whatever reason you run out of battery charge, you're using it, let it cool down for 5 to 10 minutes, and you're good for another 2 kilometers. So don't worry. Don't worry. Whatever it is, storage talaga. Kasi battery when you're using it, it's up. Okay, and then all of a sudden, you notice may zero na pala yung 5 kilometer remaining. You stall, let it stay for 10 minutes. Down. 2 kilometers siguro, makakahanap ka na ng electric outlet na pwede ka mag-plug. Okay, next. Yeah.